Now I would request the resource persons to give their views. First of all, I would request Dr. Rabindra Kumar Rath, Professor. Would you please?
Good afternoon, everybody. Respected chairperson, my fellow resource persons, esteemed organizers of this very timely seminar on Ambedkar, particularly relating to women's issues, and young scholars whose insight is really electrifying and it has captivated all of us. And ladies and gentlemen, in fact, I am deeply honored to be invited here, and my thanks goes to Mr. Raj Sinha, with whom I had a good relationship, and I'm really indebted to him for giving this occasion to meet you and interact with you and share my thoughts on a very pertinent issue, that is the status of women today vis-a-vis Ambedkar's views. In fact, I don't know where to begin, because such a profound intellectual, a polymath, and Ambedkar, I don't know whether I am really qualified to talk anything about such a great personality, a jurist, a philosopher, a great social thinker, and what not. And look, today, if we look at our society, the present day society, and just go back hundreds years back, you can see the change. Today that these 5 girl students, they came up here and showed their intellectual brilliance. They gave their insight into some burning issues. I think this has become possible mainly due to the initiative by Dr. Ambedkar. 100 years back, what was the condition of women in our society? Forget about Dalit women, even women from the sovereign class and women in general, they were languishing. And when Ambedkar took this brave step, daring step of burning the Manusmriti, it was not out of any disrespect for Hindu religion. He was a Hindu first of all. But it was because of the inherent contradiction within this great religion. And it was out of a frustration he tried to change the Hindu code bill which he introduced when he was the chairman of the drafting committee. Apart from that, he was a great, as I told you, a philosopher, a social thinker. So he went to the core of the issue. What causes this such a civilization which at one stage was leading the world, which a beacon of light to the whole world? Then how this inherent contradiction? On the one hand, such a great civilization, and on the other hand, within this civilization, such heinous, systems. So, it was mainly due to Ambedkar's brave steps even though his Hindu code bill was defeated, and ultimately he had to resign as the law minister because it was defeated, and he resigned because of that. But even though it was not passed in toto, but Nehru took at least some provisions, major provisions from this Hindu code bill, and it was integrated and coded in our constitution. So that was Dr. Ambedkar. But today, you know, the issues, Ambedkar's contribution is so much, is so profound, that even if I speak for 5 hours, I cannot touch even an iota, touch even 1% of his vision. Such a profound intellectual. And he went so deeply into the matter of things, to the core of things. Such a good analyzer of the social system. So therefore, you know, I will not touch upon his political or his, constitutional, his contribution to the making of the constitution, his contribution to the political field, but I would concentrate to the theme of this topic, that is women empowerment. Of course, these things are related. Social justice, constitutional right, and women's empowerment, they are all related. So, before that, you know, we owe a great deal to Ambedkar, the federal structure of the state. Okay? That is mainly due to Ambedkar. And you know, the credit also goes to Ambedkar for the linguistic organization of the states, the way our states were organized. It was mainly Ambedkar who, pleaded for this. So, now coming to, as I told you, concentrating on only women's rights, the first thing that comes to my mind is the Hindu Code Bill, as I told you, which was prepared by Ambedkar. Okay? Because this Hindu Code Bill, it contains the germs of this women empowerment. Okay? Women's equality, their empowerment. Before I go on, let me just tell briefly about the history of this Hindu Code Bill, so that we can know the person Ambedkar and his fight for, passing the Hindu Code Bill. So the bill, you know, when it was introduced in 1951, it faced strong opposition. And who opposed? Great people, Rajendra Prasad. Only Sardar Patel favored it. But Dr. Rajendra Prasad opposed it. And many other great people, they opposed it. Ultimately, you know, when the act was, the key laws of this Hindu Code Bill were passed in 1954, the 4 main acts which we enjoy today are the Hindu Marriage Act 1955. It introduced monogamy and allowed divorce. Next, Hindu Succession Act gave women the right to inherit property. Recently the Supreme Court, you know, in terms of, you must have come across a news that when these old parents were abandoned by their children, how the Supreme Court, you know, made it mandatory that no, it is, you cannot claim it as a matter of right. Okay? So previously women, the daughters, under this patriarchal system of our society, culture, so the women were deprived of getting any, claiming anything. And the third important act that we got from Ambedkar's Hindu Code is the Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act. It defined guardianship rules. And the last is the Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act, which was also passed in 1956, which provided for women's maintenance. Okay. So, let me read out a few words. Why Ambedkar? You must be wondering. I'll come to a very important topic, because as you are talking about women's Ambedkar in favor of women rights, but there is a saying of Ambedkar which is, used by his detractors to discredit Ambedkar. I'll come to that, but let me first tell you that what Ambedkar, thought about this our society, Hindu society, and why he changed Hindu religion, became a Buddhist. I have already given one indication that he was frustrated because when he wanted to change from the inside, and when he failed to do that, he had no ways left. So that therefore he ultimately had to leave. So nowadays, let me just read out, because this is important to what I am going to say in the subsequent few minutes. In the words of Ambedkar, the Hindu society has been the theme of destruction, deviation, and deterioration. The Aryans never hidebound about social system of the caste division. That means the Aryans were never rigid, they were never hidebound about the caste division. That was introduced at a subsequent stage. Okay? Again, women had formerly equal share in property with men. But as a result of the changes that have taken place in Hindu society, the women are completely deprived of property. Do you call this change progress, or do you call it deterioration? Ambedkar asks. Something was previously given to women, but subsequently it was taken away. So Ambedkar asks, will you call it progress or it is deterioration? Therefore he calls, it's time when we consider this in a different way. Unless laws make this society move, it will not move. So he wants the help of law, the support of law. It will never give up its social structure. Changes in the social structure in Hindu society, it will never ever occur unless there is some external force, that is law. So he did not believe in these old myths and practices and all these things. And for Ambedkar, progress would be greatly accelerated. This is a quotation which is attributed to him. The progress would be greatly accelerated if male education is pursued side by side with the female one. So he stressed on this education. Nowadays, our Prime Minister Modi ji is talking about save the girl child, educate the girl child, all these things. Okay, and in his book, Ramachandra Gruha, Makers of Modern India, he describes Ambedkar as the wisest Democrat. Okay, and people are saying today, save the girl child, educate the girl child, but long before Ambedkar had told this. So therefore, look at his vision, such a visionary par excellent. So Ambedkar insisted on this social change. And as I told you, so the despite this opposition, Hindu Code Bill was not passed, but some major provisions were passed. And as a result of this, but I will come to a different topic which is, very much in discussion today, which is called, intersectionality or intersectionalism. Okay? So, one major contribution of, in a general way, we told that Ambedkar did this for women thing, but what exactly was Ambedkar's contribution? And how is it different from the feminism that is being talked about all over the world, in India also? The feminists, they are also talking about women's right, women's liberation. But how is Ambedkar different. What? While as the feminists, or when you talk about women's liberation, they are talking. So they are talking in a, in terms of, legal equality, social reform, and empowerment. Okay, universally, women as a universal category, but they are not taking into consideration the layered nature, the stratified nature. For example, a woman belonging to a Dalit section, a woman belonging to the upper class, they are not facing the same sort of persecution, or they are not facing the same sort of, differentiation, distinction. So, therefore, Ambedkar stressed on this thing, the layered nature of this operation. Okay. So, and another important thing we attribute to Ambedkar, he saw the link between caste and gender. Between caste and gender. So, for him, women's oppression in India cannot be understood in isolation. You cannot separate gender from caste. So, therefore, in his book, The Annihilation of Caste, which is a major document and which is being appropriated these days, even Arundhati Rai wrote a book, the saint and the saint and the what other thing? Arundhati Rai's book. I'm just forgetting the name. Arundhati Rai's book. The book is with me. I'm just forgetting the name. Anyway, so many people are trying to appropriate, but it was first, in 1916 when Ambedkar was studying in the University of Columbia, he presented a paper there on caste, and that gradually evolved into the, annihilation of caste. In fact, this was meant to be read out. He was invited as the president to preside over this Jat Path Tod Mandal. So in Lahore, a meeting was to be held in Lahore in 1936, and this was a organization by the upper class people. So they invited Ambedkar, and Ambedkar, they wanted a copy of the speech prior to that, and when Ambedkar sent them the copy, which later was to be this annihilation of caste, then they objected. They told that no, we are cancelling the meeting, because that contained many things against this, because Ambedkar went into the root of this Hindu Shastras. Okay, so when they came to know that Ambedkar was so vociferous on these inherent inequalities, or what the Manusmriti, scriptures like Manusmriti taught it. So when they saw Ambedkar challenging it openly, then they cancelled this thing. But later on, Ambedkar, he published it on his own and he distributed it. That became the annihilation of this caste. And the other book is that he wrote in 1916, Caste in India, their mechanism, genesis and development. It is available in the internet. It is free thing. You can read it. It's a beautiful document. Very, this essay, this is a seminal essay, and the other, Annihilation of Caste, written in such simple, plain language that you need not, even a person with a little bit of English can very well understand this thing. Very simple. The idea is very clearly pronounced without any ambiguities. So these two pillars of, they contain Ambedkar's ideas about caste. And because Ambedkar found that we cannot have gender equality, gender equity, or we cannot empower women unless we strike at the root of this thing, which is in the caste system in India. Okay, so that is the irony about our culture, which I mentioned in the beginning, that such a great civilization, a great culture, but then within it, these things are there. So these are all latter interpolations Okay? And how come, otherwise you will ask, that how come this process of this, system of child marriage, widow burning, all these things, how did it come to our culture? At what stage? Okay? At what stage they came to us? In fact, it was not there before. It was only when Pushamutra Sunga in the 4th, 5th century AD, when this Brahmanism was revived, most of the things were again, interpolated. They are all interpolations. In the original Rig Veda, you won't find all these things, because there women enjoyed a great status, Gargi, etc. So it was only in the latter Gupta period that all these interpolations came, all the changes came, and women's were relegated to this Manusmriti, which comes around that period, around 4th century AD. So it came into that period. Of course, the Manusmriti, it has many, it says many good things about women, but particularly, making women secondary to men, and women, so all these things which our girls, they will laugh it off today, that why should it be so? If you read that, you will be very, you will revolt against it. They are so, obscurantist. The ideas are so obscurantist. So, what Ambedkar stressed about women is that women are not a homogeneous group. You cannot see it, or you cannot, put them under one bracket. They do not face the same problem. The issues are different. Okay? So, this is upper caste women, for example, they are subject to patriarchal control, of course. Okay? They may sometimes benefit from caste privilege. Okay? Whereas Dalit women, they face compounded form of marginalization. Dalit women, when they are marginalized, it's a compound problem. They have to face this caste problem from the other castes also. So their problem is compounded. So now, modern theorists, modern research scholars, they are using a theory, as I told you, called intersectionality. That means which is a theoretical framework that explains how these castes interact, how different groups intersect and interact. So intersectionalism can provide a very good lens to study the condition of women, such as race, gender, class, sexuality, disability, etc. Okay? So systems like, racism, your patriarchal society, capitalism, casteism. So these things cannot be viewed in isolation, but as interconnected systems of power. It is all about power. There is a great, philosopher, French philosopher called Michel Foucault. So Michel Foucault, he analyzes these things. Another is Gramsci. So Gramsci and Foucault, they see how power operates. It's all about power. It's all about accumulating power. Okay? Concept, establishing hegemony. How you can rule, how the administrators can rule, how they will get your, permission. So it is all about them. So modern feminism, it has, shifted from a universal women's experience to, recognizing differences across race, caste, and sexuality. So, for example, Dalit feminism in India, they are talking about Dalit feminism in India. It challenges upper class dominance. Okay? Just like, a black feminist thought in Western countries. So in India particularly, this intersectionality or the relationship between different castes, particularly women belonging to lower caste and women belonging to upper class, so they are, this interesting. This is particularly shaped by caste, number one, religion, and language. Okay, so particularly Dalit and Adivasi and minority women, they face multi-layered marginalization, and this is what Ambedkar took note of. Okay, so Ambedkar's framework, it challenges any simplistic understanding of women's operation. Okay? It urges us to see gender inequality as embedded in broader social structures. Gender equality is embedded in the deeper social structures, particularly caste. Okay? So therefore, his first address was this caste. Now I'll come to just that thing. Sometimes, a particular saying is attributed to Ambedkar. They say once Ambedkar in a meeting, in a humorous way, he said that it's a great shame for India and for women themselves if they enter politics. That means whether women should enter politics or not. And a saying is attributed to Ambedkar. He said that it is a great shame for India and for women themselves if they enter politics. And purportedly, this saying, this is attributed to Ambedkar. He said it in a meeting in 1956 in Nagpur. Okay? Now he told it as I told you, in a humorous, in a contextual thing. But then, this has also, if we try to judge a man who has done so much for women's rights, who has fought relentlessly, fought against Nehru, fought against Rajendra Prasad, fought against all stalwarts of the Indian freedom movement. So how can this man say this thing? But I think that even if, because a man, you have got different moods and in different context. So maybe in a different context he said this. But so, quoting him out of the context and attributing such a thing to Ambedkar is not fair. So we should, but now let us come to Ambedkar's general stance on women's rights. What is his stance? Number one, he championed the Hindu Code Bill, and then this labor reform, this maternity benefit that you are getting these days. It was Ambedkar, He introduced this maternity benefit bill to empower working women. And lastly, empowerment. And how come you will attain empowerment? By education. He laid great stress on educating women. So education, it breaks this multi-layered, this structure. It raises this consciousness. Okay? Education, it gives you the power. The pen is mightier than the sword. So today, if women are standing tall, they are going to the space, they are joining the army, and in every walk of life, they are, in all examinations, they are on top, and they are leading in a way. So if they are doing it, it is because Ambedkar, helped to break that consciousness of subjugation. And and he also instilled that consciousness into the mind of this patriarchal set of our patriarchal set, and also emboldened these ladies, these women. So it is a combination of these things both that has resulted in the status that women enjoy today. So now let me just sum up. I won't take a much longer time. As I told you, because if you want to say, there are a lot of things to say, but let me stress on Ambedkar's, when he said that we are rethinking, Ambedkar's, the women's right through Ambedkar, when we were rethinking women's right through the lens of Ambedkar, then the significant points that emerge are these things. Number one, he rejected universalism. All women are not equal. All women, supposing the women in America, women in other cultures, women in Indian culture, women even in the urban setting, women in the rural setting, and women belonging to Dalit community, and women belonging to the upper class. So you cannot, put them on a universal pedestal. They are all different. They face different layers, different structured, operation at different stages. So therefore, you come and analyze that what are these things. So you give them, each according to their need. So that is what he called. And then he emphasized on this structural analysis, where you are analyze the women's problem structurally. And then linking rights with empowerment. Legal rights alone are not sufficient. For Ambedkar, legal rights are not sufficient. Okay? True empowerment requires access to education. You go to these in remote areas, tribal areas. Even today there are no roads. Today this girl child, not only girl child, even many children, they are not going to schools. Lack of schooling, lack of roads, lack of awareness about health. So what about these issues? So this is the inherent contradiction that Ambedkar wanted to expose. And when he tried to expose this, the lobby, these people, the privileged people, they did not allow him to do it. But he was a brave fighter. But he was a brave fighter who fought it alone. That is why when today Madam told me in the morning that, when I went to Upper India, North India, I found, because Ambedkar was a Buddhist, but instead of Buddha's images, I found Ambedkar's images there. So this is the reason why Ambedkar's images is there, because it is because of this. So these insights of Ambedkar, they remain highly relevant for us, for our contemporary India, where disparities in education, in healthcare, economic opportunities are rampant. So therefore, we have to address, each of us, we have to create facilities, for this systemic change. Okay, not simply give some reservation. The people are the things, the sort of thing you see politically being done. Has reservation changed the state, changed the fate, anything? Even after how many, almost since independence we have been giving this benefit. But what is happening? They are forming a creamy layer within the reserved communities. Has it altered the condition? Has it abolished poverty? Has it abolished illiteracy from from the entire society? So why not? If not, why? It is because of this mentality, and which we mostly derived from our, mostly from our shastras. Even a person is highly educated, but at the heart of our hearts, he is telling that I am superior, I am a Brahmin, I am this thing, the other is. So why this thing? Where is equality? Where is equality? So equality will come when you respect another human being. You respect a human being as a human being. That was the core message that Ambedkar gave. Not these claddings, not these coverings, not these veneers of, status, education, property, not all these things, privileges, descendancy, lineage. It will forget everything. Respect the man. That was the spirit of Ambedkar. And it has not still happened to us. Till it has not, in the true sense, we do not really practice equality. We have not brought that thing. And that is the reason we suffer today. Our society suffers. And that is the reason why, all these evils of society you find. Okay? Illiteracy, violence against women. Look at the contradiction. On the one hand, women are going to space. They are leading the great, that they are in every computer establishment you will find there, in great space missions, etc., in all top levels. But on the other hand, when they are traveling in the bus, they are unsafe. They are subject to atrocities. They are looked upon as commodities, as objects. So who will break this mentality? It was this thing which Ambedkar stressed on. And he burned the Shastras, the Manusmriti, because of that. Because that tells that, gave a priority to women. That the women should be protected by the man. women is a subordinate to man. This idea was so revolting to Ambedkar that he told, how come such a great civilization, but these things are written there? So he, parted ways with this thing. So it is a change of soul that he called for. It is in every man, this change of heart, change of attitude. Okay? Then only proper equality will become. And when equality comes, when equality reigns in your heart, nothing, caste, distinction will not come. You will merit another person because of his knowledge, because of his ideas, because of his behavior, because of his respect for you. So that is the true spirit of Ambedkar. So therefore, Ambedkar is relevant today. And what he has initiated, even though he could not succeed fully, even though partially his ideas were implemented, and he tried his best to incorporate his ideas into the constitution. He was a great philosopher, a great jurist, a great thinker, a great humanist after all, a great reformer. So he can be called a saint in the true sense of the term. So today, as we are observing Ambedkar Jayanti, it's a nice occasion to disseminate his ideas in the true sense. Then only we can at least get some respite from this horrible situation that we see today in our society. Simply, spacing mission to the moon or using AI, using computers will not do. It is to be humane at heart. That is the need of the hour. And Ambedkar insisted on this humanity, to be human. So today, as we pay tribute to this, this great visionary, this great reformer, this great modern saint, so I bow down in reverence for this man. And let us pray that, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, and let everybody thinks about equality. Then only we can be a true democrat. Not political democracy, social democracy we want. We want a democracy of the heart. And that is lacking. I think Ambedkar's vision, his mission, his message to us is that be a true democrat. Respect equality. Respect women. Not only women, any other creature, even other creatures. In Buddhism, the kindness to animals, kindness to life, anything that has life. Let us respect life. Let us respect life. Let us respect ideas. So that is the true Ambedkar. And lastly, I'm actually grateful to the organizers, to this art school for displaying such beautiful, art objects, so variety, and I think it is a class in itself. It's a tremendous display, a magnificent display of the talent of our students here. And I thank these organizers for conducting this seminar. At least we handful of people sitting together so close, at least we can for a moment meditate on this idea. What is happening to us? What is the status of our women? Where are we heading amid this political chaos, amid this craze for materialism and money? So can't we just spare us some time? Just if you think you may not do anything, but if in the heart of your hearts you just a quieter moment, if you think what is happening around us and how it can be changed. So if you spare a thought, even that will do wonders to us. So thank you once again. Thank you all.